number of shows. And as you can see, today he is here to motivate us. And in TV shows, I think you might have seen Little Big Shots, the Steve Harvey show. How many have seen Steve Harvey? The actor, super funny actor, right? And the Dancing with the Stars juniors. He's also a member of Mensa in high IQ. You know what is? I think 135 high score at that time. Okay. 157. 125 was outstanding and he was 135. So really clap hands for this. Yes, thank you. Today we have the unique opportunity to get to know Akash better because he is here and he is going to share his experiences with us. And we have to learn from his journey. We will also have a question and answer session where you can ask him questions directly. So without further ado, let us dive into the video session which is ready for us. Everybody look onto the screen. There's an intro video for him. Can you just play the audio, please?
From last season that got everybody talking was our swimming champ. Sesquipedalian.
Sesquipedalian. Sesquipedalian.
What's the word?
Pneumano-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
Is there any other alternate pronunciations, please?
We don't know what that one is. What's the word?
Pneumano-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
You know, one of the kids from last season that got everybody talking was our swimming champ. Sesquipedalian.
Sesquipedalian. Sesquipedalian.
What's the word?
Pneumano-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
Is there any other alternate pronunciations, please?
We don't know what that one is.
Definition, please.
Referring to a lung disease caused by silica dust.
Okay. Pneumano-ultramicroscopic.
Yeah, there is some technical problem. The audio is getting played, but the video got stuck. So not a problem. We'll have it in the end of the session. Now, without any further ado, let us dive into our conversation with Akash. So Akash, now the mic is, or the floor is yours, please.
Jai Swaminarayan. To our respected Puja Swamiji, to the principal, to the teachers, to the management, and of course to the students here at Gurukul Hyderabad. I am so delighted to be here. Namaskar. I am so excited to be here and to speak with you all today at Gurukul Hyderabad. It is my pleasure. And I would like to start by talking a little bit about this school and about the opportunity that each of you have thanks to Gurukul. So I would like to start by talking about Vidya, Sadvidya, and Brahmavidya. And we'll have this presentation up in a moment. Don't worry, the screen will be back to normal, I promise. But I'd like to talk about Vidya, Sadvidya, and Brahmavidya because these three form the core essence of everything that you all do. It forms the essence of your education experience here at Gurukul. And I truly am so impressed to see this because it places Gurukul above every other school in the country. In fact, this system, it is so remarkable and so gratifying for me to see that there is an integration at play here. An integration combining both the traditional Bharatiya Gurukul system and the modern technology of the 21st century for each one of us, our generation, to benefit from. So I find this system so incredible. In fact, it's so awesome, it's there on the wall, the Gurukul value system. And so this system definitely is going to influence your foundation here at Gurukul and what you'll be doing in your life so much. And I just think that is incredible. And after talking about Gurukul, I'd like to take a moment to talk about this country, Bharat. How many of you know the true impact that India has had on the world? Because this true impact cannot be understated. Bharat has been the world's guru for thousands of years, but it has only been in just the past 77 years after independence that India has reclaimed that title. India has established itself as a global leader in countless fields. India has become a global leader in IT, pharma, healthcare. India has established itself as a technology hub, the largest film industry in the world after Hollywood, Cricket World Cup champions, and even more than that, India is now a nuclear power, a respected military force, the fifth largest economy in the world's largest democracy with the richest tradition and culture of any nation in the world, and of course, India is the spiritual guru of the world. And this incredible foundation, this experience that we are all so lucky to have here in this country is thanks to the hard work of our ancestors, of our previous generation, our forefathers. They dedicated their lives and worked tirelessly to building this extraordinary nation. And guess what? Now it's our generation's turn. It is our time to make that difference, to uphold that incredible legacy. I have a set of 5 principles that I believe have led me to success and which I think could help change your lives too. And I undoubtedly believe that if each one of us does our part and excels, like using these 5 steps, then together as a nation, we can rise up and become once again the rightful position of one of the greatest nations in the world. These 5 steps for success are finding your passion, what you really have a burning desire to do in your life. Then setting up a goal for you to work towards. Then working hard and without distractions. 4th, overcoming challenges and dealing with stress. And 5th and finally, never giving up. Persevering until you reach your goal. I want to share and discuss these 5 steps for success with each one of you today so that together we can continue the incredible legacy that we have inherited. These are the 5 steps for success. And we can start talking about the first one today by discussing our passion. And we can see this in a very, very crucial way. How many of you have an idea about what you'll be doing in the next 5 years? Now, this is a pretty interesting question, right? But now think about what you'll be doing in the next 10 years. Now, this is even more interesting. I'd like to mention this because if you haven't thought about this question yet, I urge you to do so. To take some time to reflect on your aspirations and what you really have a burning desire to do in your life. Now is the perfect time to find your passion. And I urge you to find your passion because it will form the foundation for your future. And so, I like to share my story of how I found my passion before explaining how you can find yours. So since I was a baby, I've always had an interest in words and the alphabet. That is a photo of me at a library, as an example. And yes, originally this interest started out as just me playing with alphabet toys all the time. But very quickly, it grew into something much more than that. And recognizing this, my parents decided to foster a supportive environment for me to excel and do what I love. And so, it was only in that environment where I could really delve deep into this field that I learned that spelling and the English language was my passion. And that is when I first started competing in spelling bees. This is me at my first spelling bee when I was 2.5 years old. And yes, I may have found my passion, but for each one of you, it could be absolutely anything. Today, I want to tell you that your passion does not have to just be academics, as an example. Your passion could be sports, media, politics, technology, entertainment. There are countless fields that you could go into. During our parents' generation, there were very few careers that most people in South India were willing to pursue. Many people either became engineers or doctors, and that's all well and good. But in our generation, we now have a plethora of new career opportunities, new places to explore. And I urge you to keep looking and keep searching. Because yes, some of us may not have found our passion just yet. But I urge you to take the initiative and keep searching. Because if you do, I guarantee you that you will find your passion. And you will know when you've found your passion. Because when you do work you're passionate about, it won't feel like you're working. It's always important to do what you love and love what you do. In short, I would just say, listen to your heart. And now that we've explored this process, I think it's crucial to talk more about the second of these 5 steps, setting up a challenging but achievable goal. And we can take to the words of the former President Shri Abdul Kalam for more information on what we should do with our goals. He once said, having a small aim is a crime. So have a great aim. And what that means is that the best tip when it comes to setting up a goal is to always aim big. Establishing ambitious long-term goals allows us to achieve so much more in our lives. It sets us up for success. And that is crucial. So when I did this, when I was setting up these ambitious goals, I also took the initiative to divide these goals into smaller, short-term goals. What this does is divide what might have seemed impossible at first into something that is now a lot easier. Or at the very least, it's simple, straightforward, and efficient. And we can take an example of how I did this from when I first started competing in spelling bees. Back to this photo again. Because when I started doing this, I, alongside my parents, created an environment in which I could set up the most ambitious goal I could and then work hard to achieve it. And at that time, that goal was to win my regional spelling bee and qualify to the nationals. This was very challenging, so we divided it into smaller subsections. First, my classroom bee. Second, my school bee. And third, my regional bee. So I completed each one of these steps over the course of several years, and eventually, in 2016, when I was 6 years old, I finally achieved that goal, winning my regional bee and competing at the Scripps National Spelling Bee, becoming the youngest boy to ever make it. And that's a record I am proud to still hold today. And even more than this, I utilized the same technique to return to the National Spelling Bee and compete another record of 6 times. And doing this showed one thing to me. It showed that when you set up a challenging but achievable goal and then set up achievable targets to make it happen, you can create a clear roadmap of how you can achieve your goal. It makes it so much easier to reach your goals and achieve your dreams. And of course, we can just establish these goals, but establishing these goals without working towards them is the same thing as dreaming about doing something and, well, never doing it. It's a thought in your head, but it's not going to happen. So that's why it's so important to work hard, to make that difference and realize your dreams, your goals. If you establish these efficient time management strategies and focus on your work without deviation, you will be able to achieve so much more in your life because you're doing the hard work to make it happen. And we can see this in some key ways. So I'd like to start by talking about time, because time is the most valuable thing in this world, at least in my opinion. And the reason why is because we can only use time once. Time waits for no one. And that's why it is so crucial to make the most out of the 24 hours we have every single day without getting distracted. And for many people, these distractions could be phones, video games, social media, streaming, TV. Yes, the list goes on. And for each of you, your distractions could be different. I mean, mine were mainly focused on TV appearances, media interviews, and my YouTube channel, which boasts nearly 1 million subscribers. Yes, I'm lucky to have had these opportunities. I really enjoy doing them. They provided me so many wonderful experiences. But when I was competing in the spelling bee, my number one goal was to excel. And so I didn't let those opportunities and experiences stray me away from reaching that final goal. And the way I did this was by establishing a daily schedule. So what I did was to establish a timetable of sorts. And I'm pretty sure that each of you already have this. But I urge you to set up a specific one, like in your study time as an example. I urge you to set up a daily schedule and then constantly review what you do every day, because it allows you to really think about what you have to do today and when you should do them. It allows you to set up goals, not just in the long term or in the short term, but every single day. And we can see an example of this in Benjamin Franklin, one of America's founding fathers and one of my role models. He constantly reviewed what he did every single day. And doing that allowed him to achieve success, serving as America's first diplomat, America's first postmaster general, and of course, a prolific inventor too. And if Benjamin Franklin could achieve those incredible things using this technique, I'm sure that each one of you can achieve even greater things using this technique. So establish a daily schedule. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, Karmanye vatikaraste mafaleshu kalachana. And this translates to do your duty, but do not think about the results. Crucially, the most important thing in your life should be your goals, your duty, and your responsibility. So, without thinking about what the outcome might be or worrying about it, just focus solely on your responsibility and leave the rest up to God. And I have one final thing to say when it comes to working hard. It's that I urge each one of you to make the right choice and to work hard now rather than later. Because hard work is a necessity, as I'm sure you all know. It's a necessity for success in life. And so I recommend each one of you to make the right choice and work hard now so that you have a less stressful and more successful life in the future. Obviously, this choice is ultimately up to you all, but I'm sure that you all are smart enough to know what the right choice is to make, to work hard now. And while we're working hard, we will see plenty of challenges in our life. And yes, this is normal. That's why it is so important to constantly be searching for ways to improve the situation, to fix these challenges, these problems, and move on. So whenever you come across a situation that seems daunting or even downright impossible, I urge you to take a step back, to calm down, to come to terms with reality, and then to think about how you can improve that situation. As an example, my first run at the 2016 National Spelling Bee actually ended in the third round. And for anyone, especially for a 6-year-old, misspelling and getting eliminated from the bee on live TV, ESPN, well, that would have felt devastating. And yes, it really was. But at that point in time, I took the opportunity to just calm down and come to terms with reality. At that point, I knew I had been eliminated. I could not change that. But what I could change was the attitude surrounding that situation. So here, if we could turn on the audio in just a moment, that will be perfect.
Akash,
This
you'll be
is the
remembered
video
for-
that played of how I reacted when I was under that severe stress. If we can have
Redefining the
video.
word sportsmanship.
So, what happened there in that video was after calming down and taking a deep breath, I thanked the organizers for the experience, then wished good luck to my fellow competitors, exchanged a few high fives, there's me in the middle of one right now, and then I gracefully exited the stage. So that act, which is termed sportsmanship here, that got picked up by top US morning show ABC's Good Morning America. This clip is from that show, and the subsequent video went viral. The lesson from this that I learned was that overcoming challenges by looking at them in a positive way with a positive outlook. How can I better this situation? Doing that allows you to achieve things you didn't even know you could do. And for me, it turned what could have been a really sad, demotivating experience into actually one of the best things that has happened to me. That ended up giving a lot of more press coverage, as an example, and doing that boosted public support, which motivated me to keep going and keep coming back to the spelling. And of course, while we overcome these challenges, there will be times when it feels daunting, when it just
Akash, you'll be
feels
remembered.
impossible. And yes, once again, this is normal. Everyone has faced this at some point in their lives, but I believe that when it comes to doing this, we should remember the wise words of Swami Vivekananda, who once said, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." These words ring 100% true, and it's why the number one tip that I have for each one of you to achieve progress and success in life is undoubtedly to never give up. Because it is only when we persevere, when we strive to reach our goals, that positive change will happen within our lives. And we can see this in all of us, because in reality, every single one of us has persevered in our lives. And we may not even realize it. But maybe, even though we haven't, maybe our parents will. So I urge each of you to ask your parents this simple question. How many times did you fall as a baby before each of you finally learned to walk? And yes, the answer is probably countless. Like, as an example, I mean, each one of us has had plenty of stumbles when we were learning to walk. But we learned from those challenges. They provided us valuable lessons. And so we learned from that to learn how to walk. And so that is actually a lesson we can apply to our lives. Surprisingly, in fact, the truth here is that I urge each of you at this point in your lives to embrace failures, to believe in the power of perseverance, and to strive for the best. Because undoubtedly, no matter how many challenges you may face, you will eventually succeed. And no matter how many times you may fail, you will eventually succeed. You will always be learning from every challenge that comes your way. And we can see an example of this in Thomas Edison. Only some people are ever fortunate enough to become successful in their first few attempts. And Thomas Edison is an example that really, it doesn't have to be immediate success. He failed over 2,800 times, living in his shed for weeks until he finally invented the working light bulb that lit up the future of humanity forever, that we use every single day. Failures are the stepping stones for success. And in the words of, once again, the great former president, Sheikh Abdul Kalam, if you fail, never give up. Why? Because FAIL means first attempt in learning. Never fear failure, never give up. And so we return to our 5 steps for success. Finding your passion, setting up a goal, working hard, overcoming challenges, and one final one, perseverance, never giving up. These 5 steps for success have undoubtedly changed my life forever. And I believe that they could undoubtedly change each of yours too. Gurukul has provided you all with an incredible foundation for your life, one of the best you could get. Combining Vidya, Sadvidya, Brahmavidya. Combining these 3, modern, traditional, and spiritual education, into a syncretic foundation greater than anything else. That is something unique to Gurukul. So I'd like to just take a moment to mention just how fortunate each one of you are to be here at this school, to be at Gurukul Hyderabad. I urge each and every one of you to make the most of this foundation, these values that have guided you until today, to make your family and your country proud. Because crucially, the incredible achievements that India has accomplished over the past few years, these incredible accomplishments are just the start. They're just the beginning of the great story that India has to offer. And I am very confident that with dedication, passion, and perseverance, each one of you will enlighten the world and elevate India to greater heights. So Jai Hind, and God bless India and the United States of America. Dhanyavad. Oh, one second. Ta-da! Yeah. Yes. Awesome. I believe we now have a question and answer segment. All right. We will now have a question and answer segment. That is the case. So we will be passing out this mic. If anybody in today's audience wants to ask a question to me, then please kindly feel free to do so. I urge you to like raise your hands or stand up if you have a question, and I will be delighted to answer. So we'll be passing the mic out in just a moment. And also, if the teachers, management, if anyone else wants to ask a question, kindly feel free to do so. Once again, I would be delighted to answer. Maybe you all might need a little bit of motivation to ask the questions. You go, oh, there's a few hands up. That's awesome. We'll be hopefully passing it out. There we go. All right.
What is your current goal?
So like my final goal.
What's your final goal?
That's a great first question. I would say, well, first of all, what's your name?
My name is Rishabh.
Nice to meet you, Rishabh. I would say my final goal, I have a lot of interest in like government and politics. I like learning about the news and what's happening. So my dream goal one day is to run for public office and eventually become the president of the United States. I know it may seem like a lofty goal, but always aim big.
I wish you best of luck for your goal.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, by the grace of Swaminarayan, hoping that it will happen one day. I know it may seem like a lofty goal, but always aim big.
How do you pronounce words? Do you separate them into sections? Like a microscope, you do micro, then scope? Or do you check the vocabulary, the spellings, the pronunciation of how do you do it? Spelling base.
That's a really fun question. What's your name?
Dakshish.
Nice to meet you. I would say, for me, essentially, I broke down the long words into parts. So, for example, for the longest word in the dictionary that I was spelling in the AV, the pneumono ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, that word is 45 letters. It's very long, but you can break it down into small parts, and that gives it away. So, if you just memorize pneumono ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, and then you can spell each one in order, and there you go. And that is the full 45-letter long word. So that's how I spell the long words. For the shorter words, it's actually the same thing. So just to spell the word like microscope, it is exactly that. So you'd have micro and scope. And there's actually a thing called roots, which are like small words from other languages that English borrows. So in microscope, it's two Greek parts. Micro means tiny, and scope is like seeing. So microscope is tiny seeing, which is exactly what a microscope is used for. So using that technique, you can get through a lot of the words in the dictionary. And that's what I use. It's a good thing you pointed that out, because that's not something many people have mentioned. So that is so awesome. Round of applause.
Actually, were there any problems that didn't you expect in your way to success, and how did you find their solutions actually?
That's a really nice question. What's your name?
Pratik.
Nice to meet you, Pratik. So I would say I've definitely faced a few challenges and, difficult situations throughout my career, especially in the spelling bee field. And usually this will happen, if I miss a word or get eliminated from a bee. And that's obviously, it does feel quite devastating when you do miss a word, because that essentially ends your path essentially for that year, and you'd have to return the next year in order to get all the way back to that point. So obviously it doesn't feel great, but part of my motivation has always been in like my passion. So I think for you or for any of you today, finding your passion is a very important thing, because your passion and your motivation are very like intrinsically linked. So for me, my passion is spelling, and I've always had like a motivation in me to always try and push forward no matter what. And like the sheer interest and devotion to that field means that there will always be motivation to keep going just out of love for the sport, essentially. And this applies to any field and whatever field you choose to do, Pratik. So I would say that's generally how I did it. But in the end, just, I would say again, listen to your heart. Your heart will tell you what to do, where to go, and it will always remind you to keep pushing forward no matter what. That's what I'd say.
Thank you.
How do you fend off against stage fear?
That is a fantastic question. What's your name?
Vishit.
Rishit, nice to meet you. So stage fear for me, I'm gonna be completely honest. Stage fear for me has not really been that big of an issue. I've always been like a kind of extroverted person, so I enjoy like being on stage, talking to people, talking in front of a camera, and so I have always had a lot of fun doing this. But I know there are a lot of people for which, stage fear is definitely a pretty big issue. And I would say a good strategy is to try to start like speaking in front of like family or friends or, just a small group, right? Because if you start off by talking to a really big group, the stage fear kicks in really quickly, right? So if you start by talking to a small group, then you get used to it. And if you start talking to bigger and bigger groups, then you will get even more used to it. And so starting small and then gradually increasing until you get to bigger audiences, that is definitely a great way to help curb stage fear. It's something that I've seen people use for the most part, or that I've seen people recommend, and I would recommend it as well. So anything to do for stage fear, I would 100% say start small and then go big. That's the key. But great question.
How did you practice on your goals? Did you practice the words by only reading, or you practiced by writing also?
That is a really, really interesting question. What's your name?
Athav.
Nice to meet you. So I would say for me, being involved in this spelling bee field definitely involves a lot of different forms of preparation. So obviously, some of it was reading, but a lot of it was like either writing the words down, or for me, given it's spelling, I'd be like spelling the words. I always had a lot of support from my family. So like my father is here today, Dr. Akash Vukoti, as an example. And my family has been super, super supportive of me from the start. And they really, really brought everything they could together in order to help me pursue this passion. So for example, my sister was constantly quizzing me with words, and I would try and spell them to make sure that I knew I was getting it right. And my mother would help me with making word lists as an example, and making sure that I had the lists of all the tricky words in the dictionary. And my father would be spending basically as much of his time as physically possible. Like, he resigned from his job 3 times in order to support my travel around the world for TV shows. And I think that's incredible. And he too spent basically every minute of his day that he wasn't working on his job or anything, he would be spending any time that he was free working with me to make sure that I knew the words 100%. And so this teamwork definitely helped me, but reading the words, writing the words, spelling the words, memorizing, memory tricks, all these different ways are methods I use to help make sure I was at the top of my game for the spelling. And obviously that was spelling, but for you or for each one of you, it could be anything relating to your subjects or your passion. So I would say try as many different ways as possible, because I guarantee you one of them will stick, or if not one, multiple will stick. And the more you learn, the more ways you learn, the better. That's what I'd say. Yeah. There's someone all the way over the end, all the way in the back. If we could pass it over to them, get a few people from the back side as well, that would be great. Okay. Yeah, that. All right.
Many of the members demotivated you, so how did you motivate yourself?
That is a pretty important question. What's your name?
Harshil.
Harshit, nice to meet you. For me, I've always, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of my motivation comes with my passion. So, like, passion being like, for me, spelling is something I genuinely care about a lot. And so, motivation for me was basically like, I don't want to let this go. So obviously that was for me, but I think there's a lot of like motivation that should be inherent in things that really aren't necessarily your passion or matches your passion. And for there, I would say there's a few different things. One of them is just reminding yourself of the benefits of making it through and putting in the hard work, because those benefits greatly outweigh any other anything else that you might get if you didn't do it. So I would say, like, reminding yourself that there are so many benefits and great things that would happen just if you put in the hard work just this once. And so I'd say doing that is a great way to deal with it. Additionally, I would also say, like, having people who you know will like support you and will always be with you. Like for me, that was my family, and I'm sure it'll be the same for all of you. But knowing that there will be always be people who have your back no matter what, I think that is another very important thing to make sure that you have the motivation and the determination and the drive to keep going and succeed. Maybe we'll look for somebody from the, or I don't know, I guess we're still looking over there, but oh, okay.
How do you set a goal?
How do you set a goal? That is a pretty good question. And what's your name?
Shito.
Nice to meet you. So, how do you set a goal? That is a really important question, given this. So, I would generally say it definitely depends on your passion and what you want to do in your life. So, I would say for me, spelling, it was fairly straightforward to connect it to the spelling bee and then to base a goal off of that. As I mentioned, I would say like always aim big. So for anything that your passion is, I would say just do a little bit of like research or deep digging into what things really would be the best to achieve. And I would say set your ultimate goal to be the best thing you can achieve. Because obviously, if you shoot for the moon and miss, you're still going to land amongst the stars. So I think it's important for you and for each one of us to take that initiative and try to find what's the best thing I could do here? What's the best thing I could do in this field? And then work hard to try and achieve it. Even if you don't, you're still going to get somewhere very important. And even if that doesn't happen, you are still going to learn so much in this process that you will still be benefited by setting up that big goal instead of a small one. Once again, in the words of Sri Abdul Kalam, having a small goal is a crime, so have a big goal. So that is exactly true when it comes to doing this. So I would say for anything, no matter what field it is, find what the best career opportunity is, what the best pathway to success would be, and aim for that. So shoot for the moon. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
And yeah, and maybe if we'll have like somebody from the other side of the after this question.
What was going through your mind when you heard the longest word in the spell bee?
Oh, that is a super fun question. What's your name?
Rahat.
Rahit, awesome. So, what was going through my mind? That is a really, really, really fun question because it is going into one of the key parts of spelling words right. And I actually mentioned this in one of the first questions. It was that I tried to break the word down. And obviously, this long word, pneumono ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. Obviously, it is very long, and the fact that it's long does give me some kind of idea that it would be good to try and separate the word into parts. And so, what I do to remember that word is to break it down into those parts and learn it. And this is something you can use for other words. like for many different long words. And this is the technique I used to remember words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, antidisestablishmentarianism, sesquipedalian, pseudo-hypoparathyroid. Yeah, the list goes on. But it's that technique. It is breaking the word down into small parts and learning each of those parts individually. And when you do that, just spell each part in order, and bravo, that is the word done. And that's the same technique used for all sorts of words. Fantastic question.
Thank you.
How much time you are spending for the English before?
What was the question again?
How much time you are spending for the English?
Oh, that's a great question. What's your name?
Virat.
Nice to meet you. So just to quickly answer that question, I basically spent as much time as I possibly could learning more about spellings and the English language and the words. I did it that way because it really helped benefit me in terms of what words I was learning. I was actually homeschooled for most of my life, until this year, actually. And that allowed me to be a lot more flexible with my time, so I could spend a lot more time than usual when it came to preparing for the spelling bee. So that was a massive benefit of being homeschooled in that aspect. But I think for each of you, spending as much time as you can outside of your homework on your passion, I think that's a great thing. For me, I spent like hours at a time because I was really passionate about it. But for each of you, as long as you spend a good amount of time learning about what it is you're interested in, that does cover it a lot. So I'd say do that. And to also add a little bit of furthering to the previous question about what it was like to when I heard the longest word in the dictionary, I would say there was a little bit of I don't know how to express it, but I guess a little bit of tingly knowing that this was on a stage on Hollywood with lights and a camera and a full audience. So obviously there was a little bit of the nerves kicking in, but I was able to, relax, take it easy, go through remembering the spelling of each part of the word. And at the end of that, I nailed it in the end. And so using that and obviously combining it with as much fun and silliness and humor as I could, I was able to get that down. And guess what? I can still do that. I can still nail pneumono-ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. It's PNEUMONO-ULTRA-MICRO-SCOPICSILI-COBO-LCANO-CONIOSIS. And I can still do that. And I'm still able to do that because of that technique of breaking the word down in the same way that you break down your goals. So that is an awesome question. And that was my answer. And maybe if we could have maybe somebody in the center of the area now, maybe we'll see if we can get that. So that way we cover as much of the audience as possible and really get everyone in. Or we'll see.
Jai Swaminarayan, my name is Parva. So you are holding 2 world records of as youngest spelling bee champion and winning the most spelling bee champion. So is there happen like a fan moment, like so many crowd gather happen near your house and reporter and coming near your house? Thank you.
That's a fantastic question, Parva. So, I mean, I have heard that like for a lot of like real big celebrities, there's like huge swarms of people that come to their house. For me, I'll be honest, that hasn't happened at my house yet. But occasionally, like in America, especially like since 2016 to like 2019, 20, and so on, basically everywhere I went in my hometown, I kind of became like a celebrity, especially in my hometown. And so wherever I went, there would usually be at least one, if not several people who would come up to me and be like, hey, I know you. You're the spelling bee kid. So obviously that was super fun to do. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I love talking with people and, being an extrovert. So I really enjoyed that. And occasionally this does still happen a lot. In the past, and especially during this trip so far here in India, there have been cases where I have essentially been swarmed, and so I'm just like trying to, take selfies and high fives and waving and yeah, stuff like that. It is a lot of fun for me. I enjoy interacting with like the fans and the people who really support me because they give me the motivation to keep doing what I do, and so I would say like. This does happen quite a bit, but I really enjoy it. And if you want to answer the question.
I just want to add, in America, things are a bit different. So fans would not come to the houses because
They do.
but it's not that common. So no to your question. Okay.
At least not in a house.
All right. Hi Akash, myself Rudra.
Nice to meet you.
My question to you is, how did you deal with the difficulties which you might have faced after getting this much famous and success?
That's a really nice question. So how did I deal with difficulties? So as I mentioned earlier in the speech, I would say like a good way of doing it is like finding ways to just calm down and think about how to better the situation. And by bettering the situation, usually what that means for me is just how can I make this as positive as possible? Like, how can I turn a situation that may be like this into something that's like this? So that kind of attitude of thinking about how I can do like that has definitely served me well a lot, like especially in this whole time of, being on TV shows and being in the limelight. And so being on these shows, obviously, there's a certain amount of, hope that don't mess this up, you got this. And so knowing that this is the TV shows are a pretty big deal. It's obviously a lot of importance on getting stuff just right. So making sure that that's the case, obviously, and seeing how can I not only maintain this level of fun and excitement, but improve it. It's that kind of attitude that leads to really, really fun shows. And not just fun shows, but great shows too. And so I use that in like Little Big Shots, the TV show you saw in the AV, and in my other appearances with Steve Harvey and with other legendary comedians like him. And so that technique, again, all comes down to how can I improve the situation? That's what I used, and I think it'll work for you too, Rudra. All right. Now we're going into the center. I don't know. I mean, anybody, just go for someone. We'll see. All right, awesome.
Hi Akash, I wanted to ask, other than English language, what would be your go-to be language?
Ooh, fun question. So what's your name?
Rhythm.
Rhythm, awesome. So for my go-to language, if it weren't for English, okay. So my parents were born in Andhra, so I mean nearby here essentially, and same language, so Telugu. I would honestly say Telugu. Telugu arthamauti, rayadam chadavanam naku telusu, and same with Hindi for rayadam and chadavanam. But right now, my speaking in Telugu is not great as of yet, which is why during this trip I set up a goal that I came here on the 2nd this month, and my goal is by the end of this trip, which is a month long, I should be able to speak Telugu as best as I can. So again, that kind of goal does it well.
Thank you.
In short, to answer your question, Telugu. It's my parents' mother tongue, so like. Last two questions? Okay. So we will now be having our last two questions. So if anybody really has like a burning question they want to get out, now is your chance. Try and see. Maybe we'll have one of you over here on the side, or we'll see. Do you think we could hand it over here, or I don't know?
Jay Swaminarayan.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Yeah, my name is Jayant. I'm asking that what is your strength and weakness?
Ooh, fun question. So, Jan, strengths and weaknesses. Ooh, that's actually a pretty important question there. I'll be honest. This is something I've only looked into a bit. It's a lot of my strengths and weaknesses. I'll be honest. I mainly thought about this in the context of spelling. So obviously, all of my strengths and weaknesses are about what words I know and what words I don't, or what languages I'm better at spelling. But I would say, I think in general, being able to do like going through these 5 steps, which I'll just put back up on the screen real quick. These 5 steps. Going back through these 5 steps, I think it's important for, I'd say, each of us to take account of like which parts of here we might be better at and what parts we're not. I'd say somewhere I think I'm the strongest out of these is definitely the working hard part, I would say. Being able to like focus on something that matters most without distracting for a long period of time. I'd kind of consider that my thing, sort of. I really enjoy like putting in a lot of effort into what I do. So I would say I'm good at that. Weaknesses, I'll be honest, I feel pretty strong in these areas. And I feel like for now, my biggest strength is definitely working hard. And not to mention, of course, the passion that started this whole thing in the first place, my love for spelling. So that's my strengths and weaknesses there. Each of you could have your own, so I urge you all to work hard and find ways to improve yourself on each of these 5 steps. So that way, at the end of it all, you will have mastered it. And that's what matters. That's the key to success, in my words.
Hi Akash.
Hello.
Can you please reveal your daily schedule for me?
Ooh, okay. What's your name?
Rupak.
Rupak, okay. So what constitutes my daily schedule? So I'll be honest, my daily schedule has definitely fluctuated a lot. And this is okay. Like this can apply to each of you for certain situations. But as I mentioned earlier, I was homeschooled for most of my life, until this year actually. And so that allowed me to be more flexible with my schedule. It meant I could really pick what I wanted to do in my life, and I could really figure out a good way to organize things. So I'm gonna like give a brief description of kind of what it would be, but usually I spend a lot of my during the spelling bee career, I spent a lot of my time like competing in, or not competing in, but preparing for the bees and learning more about words. There, again, isn't really like a really strict schedule for this exactly on what times I do things, but usually I spend a lot of my time doing that. Additionally, I would say like I prepare with, I just start like obviously in the morning, freshen up, all that, right, of course. But after that, I do spend a lot of my time preparing and whatnot. Occasionally, like, I'll make sure to take breaks every so often to keep my mind refreshed so that I can get back on the topic and work even harder. So I would urge you all to try that as well, as I'm sure you all doing, but make sure to keep that in balance. That's the key part. In addition, I've always, given that this is something that I'm doing alongside plenty of other things like my schoolwork and in addition to like TV appearances, media interviews, my YouTube channel, which, as I mentioned earlier, nearly 1 million subscribers, which is awesome, unbelievable to me. But making it to that and having those, obviously super fun, but I always make sure to make some time for those activities as well, because they are also very, very important in order to maintain, the image and what I do. And now, with public speaking, this has become another part of my timetable and my schedule. So today I'm mostly, speaking to the Gurukulites like you and like all of you. And so I'm taking this time to work on this. And so obviously, like my schedule, it's very flexible, as I've mentioned. But I'd say for each of you, maintaining a good schedule is definitely going to do well, so well in the future. I believe that each of you definitely have the potential to not only match, but even better the achievements that our forefathers have made. And so I think that, as I mentioned earlier, with dedication and perseverance, with these 5 steps for success, each one of you could help do that too and make India proud. You all got this. Last question? Okay. And we will now be on to our last question, I believe. So we will see. So we'll just go for our last and final question.
Jai Swaminarayan Akash. My name is Aditya. I have a small question for you. You were speaking about setting high goals in your life. So what do you do on days when you feel like you are not making any real improvement towards your goal, or you were actually going in reverse? What do you do on those days?
That's a good question, Aditya. So I usually, when those days happen, because yes, they do, as you mentioned, I think that's a very important thing to focus on. So on days I feel like I've gone back or not much has happened, usually what I do is try and think about this is something I do every day usually, and I urge each of you to do this too. And this is relating to reviewing what you do every so often. It's, what did I do today, and how can I improve what I did today, like tomorrow? So figuring out what caused me to not go towards my goal? What caused me to go back the other way? Or what caused me to stay stagnant? Thinking about that allows you to fix it in the next day, so that the next day you are more prepared and you will be able to achieve your goal. That's what I'd say.
Jai Swaminarayan Akash.
Jai Swaminarayan.
Myself, Snehit. So I would like to ask you, how do you keep away from your distractions?
Good question, Snehit. I'm going to just mention, I believe this is our final question, but Snehit, I would say to answer that, I generally keep away from my distractions. One way, by reviewing what I do. So if you review constantly on what you're doing every 30 minutes or an hour or 15 minutes, at certain intervals, that allows you to keep yourself on track. So if you're ever distracted, you'll be reminded, oh, wait, no, I'm not on track. I need to get back. And that's the main technique I used. I mentioned it here in the speech. And so I think it would absolutely benefit you, Snehit, and for each of our Gurukulites here today. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Akash. It was a very good interaction. I hope all our students will be really using it, implementing it, all the tips and tricks that were given by this super personality over here. Now let us wind up the session, but before that, I would like to request Param Pujya Shri Sukhvallabh Das Ji Swamiji to please share his wisdom words.
Sit straight. Jai Swaminarayan. Hello. Jai Swaminarayan. We are so delighted and glad to have Master Akash and his father Dr. Krishna here. Once again, we give our welcome clap. And now Akash is not just Akash. Now Akash is a future president of United States of America. Once again, we whole Gurukul family pray at the feet of Bhagavan Swaminarayan to bless Master Akash to reach his goal and to serve the world. My dear students, the 5 steps or 5 principles what he shared with all of us. These are the eternal principles of success. Anyone wants to success in his life, he has to follow these steps. Very practical steps, he said, like schedule is very, very important. Most of us, 99% of us are missing our schedule. We don't stick to our schedule. We don't stick to our timings. So, setting high goal, finding passion, schedule, all those principles or basic steps for success, whatever he shared. And at last, whatever questions you have asked, really it was very interesting, and we will remember lifelong today's day and today's session. Akash is here. He is born and brought up in USA. He just for few days in India, and he visited our Gurukul. So we are very, very thankful to his father and Master Akash. May God bless him. My dear students, so before we go to final closing this, how many of you are from Nellore? Raise your hands. Those who are from Nellore. Those who are from Nellore, Andhra. Yes, stand up. Those who are from Nellore, Andhra, stand up. Hello, stand up fast. Yes, within 10 seconds, run and come the stage. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1. Yes. So, Master Akash is natively born and brought up in USA, Texas, but he is from Nellore, Andhra. So we also ask them to stand backside and have group photo with the gem of Nellore. Straight line, single line. Make your blazer proper. We hope and pray to God next gem from Nellore, from Gurukulites, become the president of India, right? Yes, thank you. See, when Akash asked a question, or he invited you to ask the questions, nobody was dared to ask, right? So I congratulate the first boy who dared to ask, and even second boy. Very interesting question they asked. Also will have. Please, you can move. Yes, personal photography with Master Akash. Please come. Yes, both of you. At last, we'll have a photo with all of you. Sit straight. Make your line straight. You can come front, yeah, and come front and shake your hand. Hello, photographer. Mr. Photographer, you take from there. Okay, next. Yes, next. Okay, he wants to go with Akash, right? Okay, fine. I request Abhinay sir to conclude felicitation.
Let us now recognize and celebrate Akash's remarkable achievements. Now, we would like to felicitate him. May I please ask Param Pujya Sukhvallabh Das Ji Swamiji to felicitate him. Everybody put your hands together once again. So this Spellbee champion, a public speaker, child prodigy, a TV personality is with us. It's really great, and we always hope that he will be achieving great success in his life. and thank you for coming here. We also would like to felicitate his father because behind every extraordinary talent, there is often a strong support system. And this is that strong support system. In Akash's remarkable journey, his father has been an incredible pillar of support and inspiration. Mr. Krishna has been a steadfast presence in Akash pursue his dreams. His dedication to his son's education and growth have been instrumental in shaping Akash into a prodigy we see today. Thank you, sir. Okay, now we will be having a group photo with Akash and his father. So I want all of you to sit straight, exactly sit straight. He will be coming to you. Photographers, take positions. You have to cover the whole group.